On the face of it, here is the summary of On the face of it. This is a very good emotional one-act play having 3 scenes. It features only 2 characters, the old man and an old boy. Both of them suffer from physical impairment. The old man has a tin leg. He got one of his leg blown off in the war. The young boy, Derry, who is very negative, has one side of his face distorted because it is burnt by acid. We can see lots of contrast between both the characters. The play also describes the disappointment and loneliness of physically impaired person. The sense of the alienation is more inconvenient than the physical disability. The first scene is located in Mr. Lamb's garden. There is an occasional sound of bird song and of tree leaves rustling. Derry walks slowly and hesitatingly through the long grass. He comes around the screen of bushes when Mr. Lamb speaks to Derry. Mr. Lamb asks him to mind crab apples. They have been blown down from the tree by the wind and are lying in the long grass. Mr. Lamb is not worried of apples, but the boy could step on one of them and fall. Derry tries to explain that he thought that was an empty place.
Mr. Lamb asks him not to be afraid and explains that the house is empty since he is out in the garden. He observes that such a beautiful day is not worth spending indoors. Derry panics and says that he has to go. Mr. Lamb consoles him, saying that he should not feel disturbed. He does not mind who comes into the garden. The gate is always open. He was only the boy who climbs the garden wall. The boy feels angry that the old man has been watching him. Derry explains that he does not come to steal anything. Young Derry wants to go and says goodbye. Mr. Lamb tells him that there is nothing to be afraid of. It is just a garden and only one person, that is himself, is there. Then the communication goes on. Mr. Lamb says that people are afraid of him. Derry asks Mr. Lamb to look at him, and after seeing his face many people think that he is the most fearful and ugliest thing. Derry says that when he looks into the mirror and sees his face he is also afraid of it. Here Mr. Lamb says contrasting things, that not the whole world thinks of his face as frightening. At least he does not think so. Mr. Lamb now changes the topic. He says when it is a bit cooler he will get the ladder and pull down those crab apples. They are used for making a jelly. September is the right time of the year for it. The apples looks orange and golden. He asks Derry if he would help him. Derry is afraid to do so. He hasn't been being with people. Mr. Lamb makes him comfortable and by gets Derry tell his problem.
Derry says that he got acid down that side of his face. Mr. Lamb is interested in anybody and anything made by God minus even grass, reddish, flowers and fruits. When Derry says that they are not the same, Mr. Lamb says that there is no difference. He is old. Derry is young and has a bony face. The old man tells that he got hurt in leg in the war. Some kids call him by names, but it doesn't disturb him. There are plenty of things other than his legs to stare at. He refers to Beauty and the Beast. Derry says that no one thinks the same. He says that other try to console the people suffering from physical impairment by asking them to think of all those people worse than them. But all these will not change his face. Even totally strange person call him terrible. Derry repeats that he doesn't like being near people, especially when they stare at him and when he sees them being afraid of him. Mr. Lamb then tells him the story of a man who was afraid of everything in the world. So he locked himself in the room and stayed in his bed. A picture fell off the wall onto his head and killed him. Derry feels relieved and asks what he does all day. Mr. Lamb sits in the sun. He reads book and enjoys the nature. His house is full of books. His house has no curtains, as he does not like shutting things out.
He likes the light and the darkness. Derry likes to hear the sound of rain on the roof. Now Derry says that they're again talk about him downstairs when he's not there. Mr. Lamb shows negativity. They seem to be worried about him and he tells that Derry will not come again. Mr. Lamb gives him a very inspiring advice, praises him. Mr. Lamb is not ready to send his 100 friend again as she has also heard bad come men. Kids come for excitement. Sometimes his friendship might be one-sided. Before he goes there, he tells that if Derry might never see him again, Mr. Lamb will still be his friend. He dies. He tells Derry that taking others to enter the garden again, it harms more than any bottle from Mr. Lamb and tells that he is back. Everything is the same, but his heart breaks when he sees them.
The lesson has lots of moral values to teach. Though we suffer from any physical impairment, we should not be demoralized. There can be little spend failure, time when we are not comfortable. Negative thoughts are bound to come. The world may not accept us. We should not give up hope. We need to change the thinking process. Instead of hating others, we should spread love. Never think negatively. Everyone who comes in our contact is our friend. Even though we do not meet, we should smile. We should enjoy the beauty of the world. Such a great message is given by the lesson.